Welcome to the first episode of the Book Tea with V. Well, this has been a long time coming, and I will just say, I just have a massive amount of imposter syndrome. For anyone who's doing or starting anything, all I can say to you, a bit of advice, do it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? And here we are. So this podcast, The Book Tea with V, is going to be a little bit of everything. Obviously, we're going to be talking about books. There will be a little bit of pop culture, and there will be interviews with some favorite authors, some personalities we know really well. So stick around. We're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm going to start off with a bit of pop culture first. Because it's been a big couple of weeks now. I don't know about you guys, but I am such a Bridgerton girly. I live, breathe, eat this every single time it comes out. So season 1, I think I took work off when it came out. This is how religious it is for me. Season 2, again, blew me away. When she does the scrunch thing, I still try and do that, but I don't have the face for it. Season 3, was no different. It just felt like coming home. There's something about the Bridgertons, especially when they're in their living room, that you just feel like everything is just amazing. It's perfect. I feel relaxed. I feel like I'm one of them. But these are my thoughts on the season so far. So number 1, I don't understand why it's in parts at all. I don't get it. But I'm not going to kick off too much because I do feel like it is giving off that like massive suspense of wanting to know more. And the worst part about it is everyone's going off, yep, oh my God, we stopped at the carriage scene. That's fine. All I can think about is how much it's going to kick off when Colin finds out what Penelope's done. And this brings me to like their relationship. And I love Penelope and I love Colin. But what I will say is that I just don't know if I really believed their chemistry. And I think that's simply because I felt like maybe their story was a bit rushed from previous seasons. And there's also that thing that I just didn't quite believe Colin as a womanizer. And then there's a part of Penelope where she can be a little bit vindictive using Lady Whistledown as like her scapegoat. So if something goes wrong or she's annoyed at someone, she'll just use that to write about them. So like they're not my favorite characters to start with. However, what I did love about them is just, I loved Penelope's character when she was learning to flirt and things like that. And the costumes. The actress, the Penelope, looked sensational. When she came out in that green dress, my heart stopped. She just looked so beautiful. I can't wait for the second part, to be honest with you. But I don't know if you would have known. I mean, it's on TikTok everywhere. But there is an article out at the moment. I'm not going to give the journalist airtime. I'm not going to give the article itself much airtime. But it was horrid. It was basically just fat shaming the actress Nicola. And I don't understand in this day and age why this is still going on or why people just need to just be, it's just mean. That's all it is. It's nothing else but mean and so unnecessary. So I hope that the actress knows that how just amazing she looked and how much everyone is loving this season. So, to everyone that's just hating, they can just piss off because I'm not about it. Secondly, though, speaking of hating, we've got this whole debacle with Northwest and the whole Lion King thing. I don't know. Look. Do I think a theatre kid who's been doing this all their life deserved that spot? Yes, hands down. But what upsets me more is that everyone's overlooking, because of this whole situation, Jeremy Irons singing Be Prepared. It was the best thing I've ever seen. Oh, God, it brought back so many memories. But let's get into the books, shall we? Now, I am currently reading Corrupted Hearts by Jagger Cole. I am absolutely loving it. Dark, mafia romance, and holy shit, check your trigger warnings. If you don't have any, jump straight in. Jagger Cole's just one of those authors for me that is not only an instant read, but it's like a guaranteed 4.5, if not 5 stars. So highly recommend everything pretty much he's ever written. these are the books that I've read this week. So we're going to start off with Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. It's a small town romance. It's also ex-boyfriend's dad. This one was just delicious. Like, yes, there was that scandal, but it also had that small town family vibe. That's just, the family was hilarious, but there was also a lot of depth to this one. I cried at like multiple chapters because there is a tragedy that has happened in one of the characters' pasts. Highly recommend. Drawn to Darkness by Michelle Hurd, mafia romance. It goes without saying, I love Michelle Hurd. I read everything she writes. Amazing. Drunk on You by Nikki Ash. Hot. Fake dating. And these two go from fake dating to fake dating and being rivals. So the pranks they pull on each other, honest to God, I was laughing out loud the whole way through. Then I read Craving Chaos by Jill Ramsower. It's out on the 12th of June. Again, rivals, mafia romance though. They get lost in the wilderness. There's a cabin. There's a bear. Need I say more? Free Fall by Catherine Nolan. It's MM Bodyguard. First of all, MM for me, I don't know. It's just a comfort genre. I just swoon. And speaking of swoon, Luke, when he says to Elijah, or when he calls him sweetheart in the book, oh my God, I just melt. But the standout book of the week for me is Thorns of Silence by Eva Winners, 5-star. It was a book that I could not get enough of it. I could not stop reading it. And I pretty much read it, I think, within a few hours. But also, when I got to the end, there was like this panic of, shit, no, that can't be it. Like, there must be like a bonus chapter, or is there maybe even another book coming out about this? I couldn't get enough about them. And I think that's such a great sign to how good the book is. So I could not recommend this book more. Yeah, so that's what I read this week. I haven't really been reading a lot due to like my working circumstances. But now I actually have a lot more free time and I'm so excited to just read so much more. My TBR is a mile long, like everyone else's, I know. And that's our fault because I will, and you will, I know you will, we'll pick up a book that's been on our TBR and we'll go, amazing, can't wait, I've been wanting to read this. We'll make that second mistake of going, before I do, I'm going to just quickly whip on TikTok, watch a couple of funny videos, not get any recommendations. I just want to see some, funny videos instantly. The first thing that will pop up will be a book recommendation or just a scene, a line. And all of a sudden, the book that you picked up is no more and you're whipping to Kindle and downloading that one. Honestly, it's not good. But we're all the same, to be honest, aren't we? But let's get into it. What is the book tea this week? I mean, surely you're all aware, but Anna Huang just gave her cover reveal for The Striker. Now, this is going to be a football for us Brits, but a soccer romance, which I am all about because when I was sort of early teens, I thought I was destined to be with a footballer. I was going to be a footballer's wife, a footballer's girlfriend even. And I just thought, you know what, that's a bit of me. I think I would do that role very, very well. So when I heard that she was doing something like that, and it's brother's rival, by the way, need I say more? I was just like, that's a bit of me. Just a lesson in manifesting. My current boyfriend can play football, but it was mostly when he was younger. So when you're manifesting, just make sure that it's specific, okay? Because he's not playing it now, and he's not bringing in millions of dollars of income. I love him for who he is, of course. But the cover itself, I don't mind a male cover. It doesn't affect me on who I envision, and sometimes it actually just helps me. But I know people do have different opinions; they don't like them. But I actually thought the cover I thought it was great. The second bit of tea that I have for this week is for those of you who have read the Hollow Boys series by Monty J. And for those of you who haven't, absolutely go and read it. It's like a dark bully romance series. Highly recommend. She came out on TikTok because she's doing a next gen series. So she came out on TikTok. She did a video recently, and basically it just shows who's where. So whose kids belong where and to who, what's, maybe coming up. it was just a little good tidbit to see what's coming up. So again, that's the tea. Oh, hang on. Silly me. There is another book I want to talk about. It's called Insidious Obsession. It's dark, mafia romance. She stalks him. And my God, our MMC, Luca, he is so unhinged. I don't know what it is about an unhinged MMC, but the more unhinged they are, the more I love them. Which brings me to our guest today, and I cannot wait to speak to her. Hi, Carrington-Russell. Welcome to the Book Tea with V.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you.
I'm pumped to be here. And honestly, happy Friday night.
Cheers. I don't know when this episode will end up airing, but if everyone needs to know, it's a Friday night. We're having a drink. So apologies now because God knows where this is going to end up.
It may be a train wreck, but we'll be laughing either way. So hopefully everyone else will be as well with us.
And to be fair, I feel like the train wrecks are the best ones. Like the more unhinged it gets. I know I like that for my fictional men. I may as well like it for the podcast. We start as we mean to go on,
No boundaries. Let's do it.
No, nothing's off limits. Nothing. So let's start with how we met. And I feel like it's going to be one of those stories that whether I'm in a room with you, whether someone's like, have I met you? It's going to be one of those stories that I'm like, let me tell you this story. Because it's just one of those stories that it just never happens.
Would you like to start telling the story, or shall I?
Look, I was going to give you the room, but I do like the version of, we could go with both versions.
Okay.
For me, it was very much the stopover, but platonic. That's the way that I tell this story. I was sat down, my partner's behind me, we got separated in the seating, serendipity if you ask me now. And you sort of like walked in, I had Powerless as a book to read, which was, looking back, I sort of think we just had 5 solid days in America. We just flown over from Australia, like gone, running on fumes. And, this perky blonde sits next to me, asks me what I'm reading and if I was just at the convention that, it was a big convention that was on at the time. And we just started talking about everything book related. And we didn't shut up for like 2 hours.
I loved it. So I am that person who will talk to a stranger on a flight. But what I loved about meeting you as well, because as soon as I saw the book, I was like, I'm tired. It's been a huge 5 days. I'm like, do I talk? Do I not? And then I was like, you have a book. Did you go to the event? And you're like, yeah. I was like, I signed there. And you're like, I was a TikToker. I was like, oh my gosh. And we started talking immediately and I loved it. What I found wild about this situation is that I remember seeing you and your partner at the event when they had one of the gala nights, one of the evenings, and you two walked in, and I was like, damn, what a power couple, what a hot couple. And then it was crazy that I was sitting next to you. And you were like, yeah, so I really like, these are the books. This is what my TikTok is about. I absolutely love reading books, but specifically mafia romance books. And I was like, that's so crazy because I have 2 of my mafia romance books in my bag right now. And you're like, and I live on the Gold Coast. I was like, that's crazy. I also live on the Gold Coast and you live like 15 minutes away. I'm pretty sure after that 3 hours, I was like, well, you kind of stuck with me. We're best friends now. So thanks. It was wild.
It's the same for me. I was just sort of like, there's just times in your life you will meet certain people and you'll just click. It just happens. It happens out of nowhere. You don't get to decide when or where. And it was just like that. So best friends. Like, ever since. And then I think we just chat every day since. So it's been a really, really lovely, like growing friendship within 100%. The industry as well. Like I feel like as a TikToker or an influencer or something like that, there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes with this too. Like it's like, oh, I really want to talk about these books, but I found especially when I was at the event and people were like, oh, that's you. And I'm like, oh, God, I mean, yeah, it is me. But like, you just don't think because you're behind a camera all the time and you're like, yeah, they're just my friends. That I'm just talking about books with all my friends sort of thing.
Because like, I know for myself as an author, I've been in the industry now for 10 years and I have heaps of author friends. And imposter syndrome is such a big thing, like even for us authors. So like, I know for years I would initially start, people like, oh my gosh, it's you. And I'm like, I'm just I'm an alcoholic. And I didn't know why I would say that. I
By
just tried to
dodging.
like,
By dodging.
yeah, literally, I was like, okay, like I may not be far off it, but it's a very interesting like imposter syndrome. I think no matter what you're doing, especially creatively as well, I think you always suffer from it. Like I said, I have many author friends, many amazing, phenomenal writers, and every book release, they're nervous because they think they're going to do absolutely terrible. Everyone's going to hate their book, and it's just wild to watch it happen because we're powerful women. We need to back ourselves up.
Absolutely. And I feel like, I don't know as an author, but I know as sort of looking from the outside, I find authors have such a platform to be ridiculed or to be celebrated. Like, you've got platforms that are asking for critique. At the end of the day, you've got like Goodreads. And I was looking at it the other day, I was doing a YouTube video, and it was books that I think are going to be 5 stars. And I was like, oh, I'll just read some of the reviews. I don't, and sometimes they're hilarious, but then I also think, I'm like, that's so mean. Like, I would hate for the author to see them. So as an author, do you stick away from stuff like that? You don't look at reviews. I know a lot of authors don't. So is that something you try and stick away from?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. So, like, I actually have had a really bad experience with Goodreads before where I have been trolled and it did stop me from writing for about a year. So, I was living in Edinburgh at the time and I went through an experience where I was walking to work. I went over there to be a bar wench, best years of my life. And I had looked on Goodreads and I had thousands of people one starring all through my entire book catalogue telling me how awful I was as a person. Then people following me through to Instagram and social medias. And it was a real personal attack as well. It had nothing actually to do with my books. And when you can see that something is so just I can't even say the word, but like purposely done like that, it's really debilitating in a lot of ways. And like, I consider myself as a thick skinned person. You have to be in this industry because when you are getting ridiculed like that, and it happens all the time. And the problem with social media is too now, everyone has an opinion and it's okay to have an opinion, but it's really unnecessary, I think, at times. If you don't like a book, you don't need to tag the author either. Like, that is still a person, that is somebody's hopes and dreams. They put a lot of time into it. Like, if there is anything that you have done creatively for some authors spend hundreds of hours on these books, and for you to be like, you're awful. I hate everything that you've done in this, but I'm going to tag you so you know how much I personally hate what you've created. I just think that's unnecessary. So, but in a sense, too, it can be just as uplifting, like, when you get those incredible reviews. So, I think that people just need to be a little bit more conscious of what they're saying and make sure that it's constructive criticism opposed to an attack on the author because they're being keyboard warriors as well. But I don't think that'll ever change either. So it's a bit of a hard one to balance.
It's so interesting that you bring that up, because I didn't even know that was a thing, that people
Yeah.
would tag authors. Like, I've definitely come across some TikToks that, they're just gunning for the writing and the author. And I'm just like, would you say that to that author's face, firstly? And secondly, it's just, for me, things like that always come across really mean spirited. I can say, I just really didn't gel with the book. That's enough. A lot of the time, if I haven't liked a book, I just won't talk about it. And then that's enough. Or if someone's asked me about, my opinion, it wasn't for me. But I'm definitely not going to trash. I would never highlight that or tag the author. I just think it's so unnecessary.
There are a lot of elements that authors have to deal with. With that particular Goodreads thing, I found out a year later that that was actually a bit of a money grab situation. And so I was then upset because they didn't even finish their job, but basically they were putting authors on ransom on Goodreads. So they would go through, do all these thousands of one-star reviews, and then say, send them an email and say, if you pay me this much, I will get all these reviews. They didn't even send me the ransom letter. I was like, damn it, you only did half the job. Not that I would pay them, but I was just
No,
like, come on, like,
I'm
at
still
least,
doing my letter.
yeah, literally, I was like, come on, like, give me something to grab onto here. But there's really crazy situations that happen that then. So I don't know. I'm just of a person in my nature personally, as well as that I would rather bring somebody up than drag them down. Very much similar to you. If I don't have anything nice to say, I usually won't say it or I'll keep it very limited. But yeah, there's a lot of that one star tagging, and I know it's really crippled a lot of my author friends' days. Like, they'll call me up and they're like, this person's tagged me in this, and it's unnecessary. We're still people, but people are going to do what they do, so we just have to go with it.
But speaking on reviews and
Mm,
good reviews, it sort of brings us on to, why we're here as well.
goodness.
Insidious Obsession.
Yes.
You know what? Let's drink to that. Congratulations. Oh
Thank
man,
you.
the cover is stunning.
I
It
love
is
the
so
pink. It's so
beautiful.
nice.
I was wondering how it would translate to paperback, and it translates so well. I
It's
love the
nice.
purple. It's beautiful.
I'm obsessed. I was really nervous about this cover, to be honest, because this took longer than it should have. I actually thought we weren't going to make the cover reveal, and there was just so many elements about it that were not working.
Mhm.
And for example, as well, I personally don't like skulls. It's just a personal preference. But then also, I was talking to a really good author friend of mine, and these are things that we have to consider as well. She's like, but where are you sitting in the market? She's like, you have a dark romance, you have stalker elements as well, and it's mafia. She's like, you need a skull somewhere because that is reader expectation. I'm like, that is correct. But then you also have the other elements like the film because she's a stalker, and then you have the
Yeah.
snake because he calls her Viper. And so there's a lot of different, there's a belt because if you know, you know. But there's a lot of different elements. So
And
I'm
if you don't, you
absolutely,
need to.
yeah, you need to know. I tell you what, the scene, actually, there's numerous scenes with the belt, but
Hmm.
I have had people tag me in like social media with raunchy scenes and like this quote, boom, and I'm just like, why would you post that? I'm like, oh my goodness, people
You're
are
like,
gonna know
why
how
would you
filthy.
post that? But then you're like,
Yeah,
you wrote that.
I know, and I'm just like, I'm vulgar. Like, how am I? Did I write that? I have like my own imposter syndrome going. Oh, people think I'm so sweet. Now they're gonna know the truth.
Like all the like book people, like any readers, just like, and we're just gonna highlight, and we're gonna tab, and we're gonna save, and we're gonna
Yep,
say,
it's just
look,
like
it's
that's
working
exactly
for the
what I
right
want.
people.
Yes.
I personally, for me, as people, if you've been on my TikTok at all, it's the mafia romance. I mean, I am pretty broad, but mafia just has my heart. And it's hard to find a mafia man that really sticks out to me these days. Like, you really have to have something about you for me to go, yep, you're in the Hall of Fame. And Luca was just, he just didn't care. He was so unhinged. And I was like, this is what I live for. This amount of unhinged, this amount of, I don't care, I'll do what I want. And he was just as obsessed with her.
It was so good. Like, it was a lot of fun writing Luca because there were no boundaries, which I loved about him. And then with Ara as well, she's so fixated on just getting where she needs to get. She wants that revenge. She will do anything at it. And so she really turns into this like little plaything for Luca almost because, he's not used to people saying no to him. He's not used to people trying anything on him. So his curiosity turns into a novelty and then turns quickly into an obsession. And so I really like it because she's doing everything to try and get away from him, but then also try and flip it and use him and like step into her own power. And he's just consistently, I mean, I don't know if we can swear on here, but
Yes, you can.
yeah, he's just consistently an asshole. And I love it. I live for it. But they're so perfectly matched in that
Yeah.
sense too, as they acknowledge we're not good people, but when things start coming out, you can kind of understand why they are those people as well. And if anything, why Luca is so perfect for Ara because she is unhinged in so many ways, but it comes from a deep place of trauma as well. So, in a way, he's probably the only person that could really give her that protection. Not that she would ever ask for it or not that
No.
she would ever need it, but it shows that balance as well. So, they're just a power couple when they decide to actually be a couple.
And what I found so lovely about Ara is there's something about her being justified in why she's doing it all, like her reason for why she's doing it. I always came back to that. That makes sense. Like, yes, not in the real world, but in that story, it made sense why she made those decisions. It made sense why she was going back and forth and having those should I, shouldn't I moments. And it just made for the angst as well.
I love it. And I think the thing with Ara too is like she's relatable in some way, despite obviously being very unhinged and crazy, but people know what it's like or they've always experienced at some point that feeling of abandonment, of being alone, and she received that from a very young age. So for somebody who is clearly not stable like Luca, but to be the only kind of person who's actually like, I'm here for you and I'm not going anywhere and I'm going to prove this to you. She fought it so much because she's like, and then it came down to the fact of her feeling almost unworthy in a sense, which is wild because she's like so in her lane, so powerful, so strong, but she's never known any type of, I mean, I can't really call them nurturing love either, but like that
But
kind
he would
of,
show up. Like he always showed up for
yes,
her, even when she didn't want
correct.
him there. That man
Yeah.
would show up.
Even when she was sleeping and she didn't know he was there, he was there.
I mean, I tell you what, that's a committed guy. You know, when it comes to fiction, there is a lot we will excuse in the dark romance world.
We know
No,
what we like.
we do. And I think it's really exciting. And I feel like you must have a lot coming up this year with the book itself, with going to signings. I know that you're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
exciting.
I'm so excited. We honestly, I have a lot. I mean, these last 6 months have been wild for myself. Like I said, I started doing this 10 years ago. I started in young adult and then I went fantasy romance. And it's only been these last 6 months that I've actually been doing dark romance. And that's because, and you know what, I'm gonna explain it just a little bit because I kind of,
Do it.
if anyone's like in a low moment or vibe, like I hope this gives some kind of inspiration because I know this is exactly what I wanted to hear 6 months ago. But in November, I was in a really bad place. Like I was in a really toxic work environment. My relationship was super toxic, no longer in that relationship, but there was a lot of things that were happening and I just wasn't happy in myself and what was happening. And I remember sitting down with two very successful author friends and just saying, I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm really tired. Like for some reason, it's just not hitting how I've always like wanted it to do, but I've always known that this is the thing that I'm here for. And then it was my co-author, well, my now co-author. She was a friend then, more like a wife now. But TL Smith was like the next week, she's like, "Do you want to write a book together?" And I was like, "Okay, well, let me read one of your books and see, whether I think we'll gel." And I read her book and was like traumatized immediately and realized I was the vanilla friend in the friend group. And I was like, what is this toxicity? I was like, there was a whole lot happening in her books, but she's just a queen. Like, she's so incredible. And I was like, yeah, actually, I do want to do this. I want to do something different. And I just want to smash it and have fun. And it turned into such a passion project because I was doing it with a friend. It was something different. I never co written with somebody. And then the next month I ended up leaving that job. I was like, this does not serve me. It's making me feel really like gross about myself and it's not bringing in good things. And so I just did like a part-time job to get me through in January because I knew that Lethal Vows, which is, well, this is a goal for one, but I knew that Lethal Vows in January came out in the end of December. I was like, let's see how it goes. It shot up straight up to the top 40. Like, we
Wow.
did so well. We absolutely smashed it. And it was just my moment to be like, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, I'm so glad, like, I had faith in myself. I had an incredible friend who helped me along the journey. And then, we had success with book two. And that's really what led me into writing my own. And so I was so nervous. And again, the imposter syndrome, I was like, okay, people know my writing with TL, which is magical because we both have different strengths. And when we put those together, it's just magic. And I'm like, so how is that going to be received when I write my own dark romance? And now that I've released it and I realize it's well loved, I'm like, cool. This is so different where I am now, writing full time once again, opposed to being in a job 6 months ago where I was working 60 hours there as well as trying to write my own stuff. It's just a world of difference. So, and now there's so much more happening. Like, heaps more books are releasing. We just announced Cunning Vows, which will be book three in
Hmm.
TL's and my coming out. That's June 28th. We have audiobooks coming out. We've got limited editions coming out. Like, all of these things that I had not been able to experience previously have now happened. And then I've got in September, October, I'm traveling for 2 months for a bunch of signings, which is like rare in Edinburgh. And then we're signing in Amsterdam with our Dutch translators. And then we also have a signing in Seattle and then Wild and Windy Love in Vegas event as well. So a lot of things are coming up. It's been a whirlwind of a year, but obviously I'm super grateful for everyone too who's like supported this. But I just like, I don't know, I like telling everyone a bit of the behind the scenes because this stuff doesn't just happen. And so, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but also it would not happen without the readers as well. So I always like to show like my gratitude and appreciation for that. And super excited because I get to go to Vegas.
I
Yay!
know, that is so exciting. And for anyone listening or watching, I will make sure all the details are there for the books as well, because I know that in that series that you did with T.L. Smith, I have the 2 books that you gave me on the plane, and I'm still yet to read them. And I'm so excited too. So I can't wait.
It's different writing with somebody. I've heard about other authors, in I did do interviews with other authors, and so listening to how their dynamics were as co-authors, I was like, I don't know if I could ever write with anyone else. Like, how would that work? And yet I just hit the jackpot because we have completely different strengths. So it worked
Yes.
really, really well. But I will say a lot of them often say, if you're stepping into co-writing, it is much like a marriage. And I really do agree with that actually. Like we've become codependent. It's crazy. So so
I love that
but
though.
it's a lot
You
of
have a
fun.
really lovely dynamic. You can tell like when you're on lives or you're doing videos together, it's a really beautiful, fun relationship.
Correct. It's very much yin and yang. Yeah.
But it works. And I think that's like what most couples, right? It's that yin and yang that makes it work.
100%.
And I love that you were like talking about your journey, but and you were saying there's a lot behind the scenes, but I think what's so inspiring as well, look what's happened in 6 months. A lot can happen in a week, a year, 6 months. Like the timelines don't even matter sometimes. You really don't even realize how far you come in such a short amount of time.
Publishing for 10 years. I've been writing for 15. I started writing when I was 15 years old. I was that angsty teenager that would go home and start like writing her books instead of hanging out with her friends. AKA, I was a nerd. But it was the start of my own, like being independent, having a drive, finding something that I really enjoyed. And so I feel like I'm also lucky in the sense that quite early on, I knew what like my purpose was, what I wanted to do in life. And I feel like a lot of people do sometimes take their time to get there, but also I think a lot of people can give up in a couple of months if it's not working out. And, I started publishing when I was 20. I'm 30 now. So in those 10 years, it's only been these last 6 months. So that's been 9.5 years of consistently slogging and hoping that I hit it on this, or maybe this will be a different avenue. And great, amazing things have happened in that time in relationships, but it definitely doesn't happen overnight. So I think a lot of people have to really just embrace the journey. I know I'm impatient myself, so it's been really difficult at times, but it is what it is. So just make really awesome friends in the meantime.
And it's like, whilst we say a lot can happen in 6 months, it's like you say, but the slog of 9 years was there too, 9.5 years. Everyone's journey is different too. You hear of these authors that just shoot up to success and they've got just the right place, right time. There's luck. There's so many different variables, but it's just so exciting. I'm so excited seeing your book everywhere at the moment. I'm so like, I love personally for me knowing that I'm about to talk about a book that I love or recommend. Like there's nothing on my book talk account that I would recommend that I don't genuinely love. And I knew with this one, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like this week, people should be going out because I just loved it so much. And the response to, they're like, okay, V, like we'll go out, we'll have a look. And the response has been, you were right. And I was like, why would you doubt me? Like some of you have been following me for about a year. You know me better than that. Come on.
I really appreciated that about you as well because I think that's really what we're all here for. That's what we're all after in this environment is
Yeah.
authenticity. And so when you said you were reading, I was like, no, what if she doesn't like it? I'm like, I've started this amazing friendship, and what if she's like, maybe you should find a day job?
Uh,
I was
and
like,
it would have been super awkward. It would have been, but at the end of the day, like there have been authors that have reached out, and it hasn't been for me. And it's like I wish you every success, but it's just not for me, and it's not
yeah,
something that I feel like it would be a disservice to me. It's a disservice to the people that are following the account because at the end of the day, they'll be like, "Did you love that one?" That's a bit of a different vibe to what you usually go for. I mean, you can different genres don't matter, but I think the one thing in this industry, and I think for an author too, just be authentic, just be yourself, because if you fall into a trap of, you know, following a herd, I guess, it's only going to catch up with you.
there's like all different types of multiple authors, and they've been categorized, and but there are ones that say follow the trends, and it's not necessarily a bad way. I mean, marketing wise, if it
Hmm.
financially supports you and you still write a fantastic book, awesome. But I do find the ones that always hit are the ones that really did come from the heart. And as it's like lame as that sounds, it's true. There's so many people, and as I said, like Lethal Vows for me, that was a passion project. Like I was like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen from this. This is new. It's shiny. I'm enjoying the process. And I think if, as an author, there is sort of an expectation to release faster as well. So I know that a lot of friends are under the pump doing that because we want to
Yes.
remain relevant, we want to produce as many books. But I think as burnout is a consistent thing in this industry, like I know at the moment I'm burnt out. I've written 2 books in the last month, like just wild. But in saying that, I am a fast writer. That's just my process. But I think when you're genuinely not in it or you're not feeling the story, I think that relays to the readers as well. So I think it's when somebody's really like, oh my gosh, I had this crazy idea. I just wrote it. And I was like, let's see how it goes. And then it goes boom into the top 100. I love those stories. Like,
Yeah.
I think really when your heart is in it, people feel that and they read that.
And readers, we are terrible. And I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. And
Yeah.
I will read a book and I'll be like, next. Because you're so engrossed in the story and the characters you created as authors.
Yeah.
Like, for example, with Insidious Obsession, straight away I was like, right, so is he getting a book? Is he getting a book? Like, who's getting a book? So I guess without saying a lot, what is your plan for the series? Are you having a couple of books in this series? Will we see characters that we saw in the first book eventually? Like, what's the grasp of what is the tea?
So one thing that I've learned over the years, and TL Smith has been fantastic mentor, I want to say in that way as well, is that I stuck with series, and it takes the romance away from the situation, but I would complete a 6 book series or whatever it may be because I was like, I need to finish this series. But if it's not necessarily selling as well, because books are not cheap to create, especially when they're top quality with the amount of edits and such that you go through. So I really had to see how this release would go for the first week as well, because I had put so much into it as well, leading up to it as well. So the answer is yes. There will be another book. So I'm like, okay, cool. People like it, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Um, and I had actually already started writing a second book. I had the intention to release this as a duet, and have them released within a month apart. So that one was already meant to be up, but when I had started writing that second one, I wrote Insidious Succession, I think, in like 2 weeks. And then I wrote the next book and I had 50,000 words in it within the next 2 weeks. And then I was traveling before we
Yeah.
met. And the book just did not feel right. There was something that was off about it. And one thing I can trust now is my own writing process as well. And I'm just like, this book is not right. It's not where it's meant to be. There are going to be a lot of adjustments structurally for it. So that'll be what I'm working on next. But this one's a lot more darker as well. So there's a lot, I didn't expect the heaviness of the book as well. So with the amount of trauma for a particular character that's in there, I love the trauma.
Can only
I love the angst, I love the trauma. I'm just like, oh, the wounded hero, it gets me every time. So I just need to give this one a little bit more care, I think, as well. So, and to be considerate for those as well who may have those triggers, who may have
Yeah.
experienced things like that. I want to be sensitive towards those things, so I do want to give it a little bit more time, but there will be a book too.
Oh, so exciting. And I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for more people to read it. It's honestly, as someone who reviews books and mafia books all the time, this one will stand out. Like, absolutely. Has, like, I call them the trifecta books. You've got the characters are great, the spice is great, but the plot was great. So, Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Success. This is all I need this year. I'm done.
And then once we get off here, because we'll say goodbye soon, we'll have to meet in person and have a good. The really lovely thing about you being so close is, there's so many authors that I love to speak with, but it's like it's daytime there when it's nighttime here. It's time zones are a bitch, so that's a bit difficult. I'm going to be day drinking half the time I'm with some of these American authors, which is fine. The cause. But so no, we'll definitely have to catch up, and hopefully you can give me some behind the scenes info on what this next book's going to be about. Thank you so much for coming on.
That's yes.
I know, I literally just have to like feed you these, like,
Honestly, it'll probably be right after this. I'll be like, this is what's gonna happen.
here's the plot, here's the tropes. I've even got my hashtags ready. I love that though, because that just says to me, look, it's in the works. We're gonna get it. We just need to be patient. Yeah, please be kind. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so lovely to have you.
Honestly, I've had so much fun, and I am so excited to watch your journey now as well with your
Thank
podcast
you.
and with your YouTube. You're going to smash it. You are well loved, and people are going to absolutely love every episode you bring out.
That's honestly, it's the drink. It's the drink.
Cheers. Cheers for that.
Cheers. I absolutely adore Kaya. When I met her, I just know when people are a bit of you, or you have those moments with someone and you're like, wow, like this is such a genuine connection. I adore her. Insidious Obsession was everything I needed. I needed an unhinged mafia romance at that point. She delivered. Highly, highly recommend. And all of these details about these books, they will be on the YouTube version of this. So if you are listening to the podcast version, you can go over to my YouTube, and details will be in the podcast, and it will have all the details about the books and what they look like. So we've come to the last segment. And if you're still here, thank you. Because this part is the books that you need to be aware of. So each week I will try and do a segment where I'm telling you what books are coming out. It can be so overwhelming because hundreds of books get released every month. And not only is our TBR outrageous anyway, there is also this bit of FOMO. I get it all the time where I feel like sometimes I just can't keep up with what's coming out. So every week I'll do about 5 to 10 books that you need to be aware of, and you can pick the ones that suit you. So first of all, we've got on the 7th of June, we have False Start by Candy Steiner. It's fake dating. It's actually in the Red Zone Rivals series. Aka Blindside, one of my favorite books of all time, honestly. And again, fake dating. So I can't wait. And Candy Steiner is just sports romance queen. S.J. Tilley, one of the most versatile authors. She's got mafia, she's got hockey romance, and this time she's giving us a second chance sports romance. We've got Love Utley, and that's on the 27th of June. I don't know if I've pronounced that right, and this is another thing you're going to have to get used to. I will probably butcher every name I come across. I apologize now. Then we have, which I'm sure you're all aware of, Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher on the 18th of June. Billionaire romance. Our girl can do a billionaire romance. By now, in Lauren Asher, we trust. Michelle Hurd, I mentioned before, Drawn to Darkness, that should be out now. Mafia romance, and it's got that Cinderella vibe. It's amazing. Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver, June 4th. I still need to read the first one. I think Butcher and Blackbird. What's so annoying about this is I know I'm going to love this book. So why have I not read it? You know when you just self-sabotage? That's what I'm doing. You know what? I'm going to read it this week. We also have Jill Ramsower's Craving Chaos. We spoke about that previously. Again, Rivals, One Bed, get into it, 12th of June. And then we've got Forbidden King by Laura Pavlov, June 6th. Small town romance queen. I adore every small town romance this author writes. So there are so many out in June, and I will do more as the weeks go on. But I feel like that's a good, standard amount that we can start with. As always, I want to know what you're reading, what you want me to talk about, what books you want me to read, what authors you want to see. Anything, I want to hear about it. So the best way to get in touch would be through that YouTube channel. I'll have the details underneath the podcast. I'm just really happy to be here. I hope you guys love this podcast. It's something I am so passionate about. And yeah, I can't thank everyone enough who has been so supportive on this journey so far. It absolutely means the world to me. I hope to see you this time next week. Thanks so much. That's the BookTube.